different umbrella under the Equality Act 2010 currently. However, because of the psychological and physiological issues women are facing, and that could be anxiety, not sleeping, panic attacks, depression, in my body, I went numb, and I'm remembering a stroke every time. So again, not everybody is the same. We can't put everybody in the same bracket. But if 45,000 cases are ongoing, which could be under ageism or Disability Act, but the previous ones are all being from menopause, they've started menopause. These 45,000, that's a combination of disability and ageism. That is all women of the age group that are saying that they're not being treated fairly and something's not right, and they've quit their jobs and things, so they've not been supported. So in 3 months, that's a huge increment. So what we need to do, call to action. So we need to create a future where menopause is no longer shrouded in silence and stigma. We need to be able to discuss everything, and it's a natural phase of life. We're all going to experience it. All females are not exempt from it. Depends on the severity of the symptoms that you get, but there's no escaping it. It will happen. And women are working for longer in their careers due to financial constraints, or because they want to. We're living an older age. And it's something we need to consider, because regarding with students, if students are coming to us at an older age as well, they're going to be experiencing it, then they want to come into academia. If we don't support them during their studies, they will quit, or they may quit their jobs. So it's a short term, but it's a sustainable future for a long term. Let our universities be the vanguard of change. And let's lead the way towards a more inclusive and supportive world for all of us. Menopause leadership is inclusive leadership. So, this is a moment quote by Dr. Maya Angelou. People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but they will never forget the way you made them feel. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tina. Your talk was not only informative, but deeply necessary. It's unfortunate that 1 in 4 women consider leaving the workforce due to menopause. And like you rightly said, if we can't support each other and our staff, how would we support our students? That brings us to the coffee break. So it's time to take a short break. Grab a coffee, stretch your legs, and take this opportunity to network. Please feel free to share your thoughts and favorite moments on social media using #MRC Research Conference. We'll be with you sharply at 11:50 a.m. with more inspiring leaders. So see you shortly.
हाँ तो ये खुद भी बंदा इम्प्रोवाइज स्पॉट
मैं पहले आता ना तो मैंने ये चीज़ें उस वक्त
आवाज आती है Okay, now you pretend
before lunch.
for lunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. It's fantastic space. Yeah, really good. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Hopefully, your assistant is that. I've given up. It's the first time I've bought heels in about you've got to cut off. Well, this is as high as I go. Yeah, but those are in my bag. I'll be trying to while I was sitting there, I was like, now this is the kind of thing I need to buy since doing like busy organizing and doing all that, all the things that I find that sometimes I've got struggles that I have. Why did I do that?
Mami bana saldırı topladı. Yani bize
Oh wow! Thank you. I know. I didn't go to post office we just looked at public relations and communications, but really talk about any industry. Women's experience is very insane. Exactly. Exactly. You know, I've managed to reach high level in my career, but my experience is not quite I've got women barriers. I don't have any other barriers. I now have colleagues who have completely different issues of female, black, and feminine. Her journey is very different. Some of the things are barriers.
And then there's also the commitment that people work-life balance.
Yeah. And there's different cultural practices. You know, my family don't have any issues with me working. I don't have any kind of problem.
May I have your attention, please? Hello, everyone. Could you please come back inside? Take your seats. We're about to begin. MRC staff, could you please bring everyone inside?
Yeah, talk to you later.
Can we all come back, please? Could we all please come back to the hall? We're about to start. 1 o'clock will be lunchtime, so we want to finish before that. So guys, please come inside. We are about to start. Could everyone be silent, please, and settle down? Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a refreshing break and you have enjoyed the sun outside. It's beautiful today. Please settle down.
And it's not stopping again.
Quiet, everyone, please.
I don't come with the
Another 1 minute and we start. Our next speaker is Ms. Saida Zen, Principal of Mont and a champion of strategic inclusive education. Her keynote is the importance of leadership in fostering innovation and agility. Please welcome Ms. Saida. I want a big round of applause.
Can you stop it talking loud, please?
Leadership, agility, and innovation. This is actually a narrative research of the story. When we talk about leadership, what comes into our mind? Leader's job is to create a vision, to inspire people, to motivate people. Innovation is about creativity, to come up with new ideas, approaches to resolve the issues and solve problems and face challenges. Agility is about flexibility, how we adapt to change. Now, when we combine leadership and innovation together, we get inspiring ideas, leaders who innovate and give inspiring new ideas. And if we combine leadership and agility, we get adaptable leadership, a leadership which is open to change. And innovation plus agility gives agile thinking. All these three components are interrelated with each other. So if we combine all three of them, we get fostering change, a change which is required to survive in the current dynamic, ever-changing fluid environment. And we all face that change in our professional lives. Now, what is agility and what is resilience? Agility is to adapt, as I said before, and resilience is to recover from disruptions. And all these disruptions, what are the reasons for them? There are many reasons. Few of them are digital transformation, which we all are facing, globalization, industry trends, and post-pandemic shifts. Lots of things changed after pandemic. While doing my research, I found that there are certain challenges which also are faced by the leadership. And there are many of those. Few of them are listed here. But in my opinion, three of them are very, very important. One is the lack of commitment and skill. So if the leaders are not committed to change and adapt, and they do not have the skill also, then it's a big issue for the organization. And second one is inadequate training. So if the leader is skilled and trained, but is not providing training required for that change to the staff, that's again a big problem. Because people are normally used to live their lives as they always do, and they do not want change. We all do not want change. We all want a comfort. We all want to live in our comfort zone. So if you are not providing that training, that's a big issue. And that creates insecurity, job insecurity, and also failure fear. That if I fail, what will happen to me? Third one is the communication barrier. So if you as a leader is not communicating to your staff what is required of them, then that will create a culture of resistance also. And that resistance also comes because of the inadequate training, the resources which the leader should provide and is not providing to them. Now, this is a study which was done by McKinsey and Deloitte, and in their study, after pandemic, they picked up 4 main factors. One of them is remote work adoption. Now, if you see the bar, you can see that all these factors increased after pandemic. Now, remote working increased from 20 to 75%. Digital transformation, that increased from 30 to 85%. That shows people are now adopting technology very quickly. Leadership, adaptability. Being leaders, we all had to change our way of working. We had to adapt. That increased from 25 to 65%. And mental health awareness, that was something which was missing in many organizations. We were not giving much importance to it, but COVID made us realize that how important it is. And we started taking care of this factor. And that increased from 15 to 70%. All these factors, all these 4 factors changed the whole working scenario. Those organizations who are good in innovating and manage innovation properly are in the best position to respond to the market changes and market conditions and the technological advancements. While doing research, I found out 2 more terminologies which are used, and one is innovative leadership and another one is entrepreneurial leadership. And I realized that both are kind of interrelated with each other. Now, in innovative leadership, it has got 4 pillars. One is visionary guidance. As a leader, you need to have a vision, you need to guide, you need to inspire your staff. Empowerment and collaboration is about developing teams and empowering them so they can develop themselves, take actions, be innovative. Adaptability and risk-taking, that is navigating change and embrace risks and not be afraid of making mistakes. And continuous learning and growth, which is promote a culture of lifelong learning, which is important for the leaders a lot. Because if they are not lifelong learners, they won't be able to make any change. Now, in another study, Malabari and Rajava gave a conceptual research model, and they picked up 4 factors. One is entrepreneurial leadership, which I mentioned before, which is a completely different concept than a traditional leadership. So, an entrepreneurial leader reorganizes and exploit opportunities, and they create an innovative environment for their staff. In that environment, the staff feel comfortable to use their intellectual agility. And then they help in the employee's innovative behavior. Now, both innovative climate and employee intellectual agility mediate the relationship between entrepreneurial leadership and employee innovative behavior. Now, there are 4 factors which are very important in this concept, that how leadership fosters innovation and agility. And one of them is the vision and goals. So in case of vision and goals, the leader must communicate the vision and goals clearly to the staff, so they know in which direction they are going, what they need to achieve. The leaders need to create a culture of trust among the employees and a transparency. They need to encourage employees to share ideas and work together in collaborations. The next one is training and developmental programs. As I mentioned before also in my previous slide, that effective leaders provide necessary resource to their subordinates, to their co-workers, to their employees, and support them in their innovative activity. And those resources are like training and development programs, and sometimes we need to reskill ourselves, sometimes we need to upskill ourselves according to the situation. And providing cutting edge technology. Now technology is everywhere in every field, we cannot just hide from it, so that's important. And then create structures and processes to enable quick decision making. Third one is lifelong learning journey. As I said before, that leaders need to be committed for a lifelong learning journey. And that is very important to cultivate agility with confidence in an unpredictable world. So they should take this as not only as an advantage, but it's a necessity now in the current situation. Mentoring and coaching. Seriously, as a leader, I realized how important mentoring is when I got a mentor who is sitting over there, that is David Baker. Because without a mentor, you are sometimes lost. You need tell you what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses. So mentoring, that means creating, as a leader, creating networks inside or outside the organization, it doesn't matter, it should be inside, through which the people can get inspiration, through which the people know what their strengths are, how they can materialize on their strengths, and in which direction they need to go, where they can give a better result. And also foster mentorship opportunities within the team. So we need to develop as leaders, mentors within the teams. Informed about the changes happening in the external environment, embracing innovation, that means encourage creativity and foster a collaborative environment for your staff. Strategic risk taking, that means access risk and tell people not to be scared of failure and take failure as an opportunity to improve yourself. And effective communication. You need to be very clear, need to be very transparent. There shouldn't be any communication barrier so people know where they stand and what is expected of them. Building resilience, which is cultivate emotional intelligence to show empathy for the well-being of your employee or your staff. Few examples when I was going through this research, I picked up, which I think are very, very relevant to this topic, and I really liked them. The one is Angela Ahrens, who was the CEO of Burberry's from 2006 to 2015. At that time, Burberry was not a market leader when she joined. So she emphasized on digital transformation, social media, mobile marketing, and empower teams to innovate. She closed down 35 centers, which were not giving any profit, and made Burberry a prestigious leader in digital luxury fashion. And the company value rose from 2 billion to 7 billion. Second one is Jeff Bezos at Amazon. We all know the name, we all know Amazon, very big organization. He gave two concepts. One is 2 pizza teams. 2 pizza teams means that make small teams, not making big teams. Small teams make quick decision making. They can reflect on your decisions, they can reflect on their performance very quickly because they are small in number, they are not very big. So 6 and 8 number is perfect. And that will, in that case, you won't be wasting time and resource. His second concept was day one mentality. That means from the day one, you have to keep in mind what is the need of your customer and should start working in that direction. And through this concept and by investing in infrastructure, he made Amazon world's largest cloud service. And their number of the rapid expansion into multiple sectors, like AI, logistics, cloud, and retail. The third one is Jacinda Ardern, ex-Prime Minister of New Zealand at the time of COVID. And she did very well. It was all over in the media, if you are aware or you are reading the news at that time period. And she made New Zealand one of the most agile national pandemic responses, a nation giving most agile national pandemic responses by having a very clear communication channels. She emphasized on evidence-based policy and acted very decisively. And the last one, which is my favorite one actually, because it relates to academia, was by Sugita Mitra. He was an Indian. He put a computer with Wi-Fi connection in a wall, inside a hole, in a poor neighborhood. And he was just watching what happens there. So the small children who used to play around, they used to go and start, doing stuff on the computer. And gradually he realize they will learn how to operate a computer, how to go on internet, and whatever they want to explore, they started doing that. And this experiment led to the concept of self-organized learning environments. So all of these examples are interrelated to this concept which I'm explaining right now. And that shows how important innovation in agility is. Now we all who are sitting here, I'm sure we all have read about transformational leadership, transactional leadership, visionary leadership. So if I put Montrose within this diagram, so our visionary leader is our board of governors, who will tell us which direction we need to go, what are our long-term strategies. Our transformational leadership is the senior management who inspires and motivates people. And our transactional leadership is our middle management who takes care of day-to-day operations. All three of them worked together during pandemic and helped the organization to achieve more than expected. And I'm really proud of Montrose in that regard. Because we were very quick when pandemic came in making decisions that how to go online, how to teach online, what equipment we need to purchase, how to take care of our student well-being. Everybody throughout the world, no one was prepared for pandemic. We never even thought that this pandemic will ever come in our lives, but it came. And we all struggled in the beginning. But in case of Montrose, we did our contingency planning very quickly. We did our scenario planning very quickly, and we implemented everything within a month. And we were ready to go. Now, during this research, I found out that there are certain variables which still needs to be explored in future researches. And three of them, there may be more, but for me, three of them were organizational culture, employee engagement, external economic conditions. So still there's a lot of work we need to do in the future researches with regard to these variables. So, the key strategies, I think, after doing lots of research in this topic, are these ones which are listed here for the leaders to foster innovation and agility. But I think I will pick few which I personally think are very, very important. They all are interrelated. One is to provide resource and support. You know, if you think at the time of when I was explaining the leadership challenges, one of the challenges I mentioned was not providing support and resource and training to the staff. So this is to provide resource and support is a key strategy as a leader. Then to set clear goals, that means clear communication channels. So those clear communication channels will help the staff to know where they stand, what is required of them, and what change they need to make in their operations also. And then empower employees and give them job security. They should not feel that they can be replaced by someone. They should be trained. They should feel secure in the environment so they can give their best to the organization. And they should embrace failure as a learning opportunity. In the end, I do not know how many of you know about Sun Tzu, a very famous Chinese strategist and philosopher. And his book, The Art of War, is very, very famous. One of his quotes is that in the midst of chaos, there is also opportunity. So I think it's all up to us as leaders to seize those opportunities and lead our organization towards a brighter future. Thank you.
ability to change. And you're absolutely right that agility is flexibility. So we need to develop as leaders, mentors in our teams. This is said by Ms. Seda, and we totally agree to that. Now, we welcome Professor Saini Fay, Deputy Head of Business and Law at BNU. His global expertise in sustainable financial governance and leadership is vital in today's complex world. His keynote is titled, "The Role of Transdisciplinary Leadership in Tackling Barriers to Sustainability and Resilience." Let's welcome Professor Fay.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'll start with this. I say inclusion. Inclusion is leadership. What does that mean to you? To me, it starts from where I am exactly now, where I'm presenting, the podium I'm presenting. I went to a particular conference a couple of weeks ago, and the podium was so high that they had to bring a stool for me to stand on. Now, is that inclusion? Is that inclusion? So you've passed the first test. I was fearing that, whether there's going to be another stool for me today or not. I'm glad you prepared. You presented something that is exactly the right podium and present. Otherwise, the people at the back will not have handled it. So thank you. Now, sector caffeine levels, and we are good to go. As somebody who came from a developing country, when I came across the conference theme this morning, I thought, wow, this is interesting. Sustainability, leadership, resilience. What does that tell you of what you understand before thinking about the audience? And so, as a saying that you can take the boy out of Africa, but you cannot take Africa out of it. And so I thought, okay, how does this reflect on me as an individual or somebody from Africa? And certain things came to my mind as I prepared this presentation today. And one of the first things that came to mind is the Industrial Revolution and the impact of that, and how we are facing the impact of the Industrial Revolution of the past. But as a developing country, what is the impact of climate change? Obviously, sustainability means different things to different people. But when it comes to climate change, when we talk about the impact of that, that is something we all think in one way or the other. But as somebody who is also in a leadership position, I need to think about what is my role in all of this. And we have many wonderful presenters today. And Professor Sarah Williams spoke about women in leadership, especially in the PR industry. And Saida mentioned the need to have mentors, or have spread that around. Professor Williams is somebody who wants to mentor every constituency. So perhaps one advice that he would take from this conference is to try and not try and mentor everyone. It's so open. And really give her time to anybody who's an incredible leader. And so there was also an interesting topic on medicine. Somebody mentioned about stroke and all that. I like to defy age and claim that I'm getting younger, not older. Whether that works in practice or not, I'm not sure. But that's my aim. I refuse to be old. And we also had a great session about menopause. We had a number of these sessions at the university, and every single one of them I attended. And my colleagues, sometimes when I'm in that room, I'm the only gentlemen in the room. The rest are all women. And somebody's thinking, why are you always present? There are two reasons. To start off with, first, I happen to be a leader in my business school at Brookings University. I line manage on most of my colleagues, so I need to be aware of the challenges that they're going through and what I should be doing to support them in that journey. But secondly, also, I'm a married man with 2 girls, so I need to understand, firstly, what happens in my own house. And to do that, I need to understand what my wife is going through and what my daughters will be going through in the future. So, why are the men in the room? Can I see your hands? Could we all take a promise, a commitment that we will all attend a menopause session? Right, I think what that will be a carry on. So that's the background. So that's the overview of my presentation today. So it's important that we set out what the agenda is going to be, the journey that I'll be taking you through. So the existential threat around climate change, I alluded to it at the beginning, the importance of climate change and the impact of that. Sustainability obviously means different things to different people. Whether you like sustainability or not, you'll be impacted. And so one day I noticed that all of a sudden they brought in two different bins to my house and told me that the waste I'm putting out was not environmentally friendly, and that I needed more bins to make sure that I'm recycling better. So whether you like to do it or not, it will be forced upon you. We'll also be talking about transforming into a sustainable economy, as well as barriers to this change. What are the barriers to change when it comes to sustainability? And also, who are the leaders that are considered transdisciplinary leaders? Transdisciplinary leaders, so something we'll be talking about. And obviously, at the end, I'll be talking about my own personal journey, and that is where you will see how I define this whole issue of age, getting old, and how I'm getting younger instead. So, what are the extensive threat? See, I told you, I'm from Africa, and so there are certain words that I struggle to pronounce. So, we talk about the Paris Agreement of 2015. We all recognize the threat. We all definitely recognize the threat. And we need to limit global warming to 2 degrees by 2030. At this rate, we are falling behind. We are not meeting that target. And one thing we have to remember is that when scientists speak, they tend to be conservative in their estimate. They tend to be very conservative. So if they tell us 2, we should be aiming to double that, make it 4. And so that's something we should bear in mind. And having said that, if you look at the undervaluing of the tipping points and the challenge of dealing with polar crisis, that is a multiple crisis happening at the same time, we are talking about 50% loss in global GDP. 50% loss in global GDP between 2070 and 2090. And if no further action is taken. Now think about that for a second. 50% loss in global GDP. Imagine the impact that will have. In the UK, our current inflation, just local level, is just over 3%, and we are already complaining about the cost of living crisis. Imagine globally, if that figure is 50%, the impact that will have on our standards of living will be quite huge. So what I suggest is we prepare for the worst and hope for the best. This is priority reading for those of you who are very much into sustainability. I would suggest that you take note of this very important document that I came across and would like to share with you as part of today's conference. It talks about systemic risk assessments, it talks about the important need for global risk management, etc. And I think for us all in academia and in the industry, it sets a blueprint, if you like, of something that we can start with. It's called the Planetary Solvency document, and it's finding our balance with nature. So, quite an important document. I'm not going to go through it during today's session, but it's a document that I've listed at the end of my presentation, should you wish to pick it up later. On the issue of sustainability, what does sustainability mean to you when the word is mentioned? There are different fanciful definitions of sustainability. But the one that I'm familiar with and the one that I rely on is the one by the United Nations Bunzl Commission definition, which was given to us in 1987. And it says meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations. Quite important, quite powerful statement. So it's not about present, it's about preservation of future generations. And when we talk about preservation of future generations, we're not only thinking about human beings. It's also, as I noted at the very bottom, all living things. All living things have a right. So when we talk about sustainability, we are not just thinking about the human race, but all living things. But to do that, sustainability and resilience are two words that are often interchanged. Resilience and sustainability. But sustainability is one of bigger, like the big. It is in written form of command. And so, even though we may mention sustainability and the need to be resilient in that domain, we need to be mindful of the fact that sustainability covers a bigger aspect of that. To achieve that, we need diversity and symbiosis. See, this time I was able to pronounce that word without symbiosis. So I'm trying. And these are key principles that underpin sustainability. Sustainability also aims to do more than just tackle climate change, i.e., climate change is named number 13 out of 17 SDGs. Okay? And we'll see that in a second. So climate change is just number 13. Okay? So we can see climate change here, noted as number 13. But there are also 17 other sustainable development goals that we should all be aware of. And on that note, I'm going to be testing your memory to see how much of these you remember as we progress. So if, for example, I say, I'm going to give you a clue now, 3, 4, 5, and 6, in my next slide, will you be able to remember what 3, 4, 5, and 6 is? And that's to check that you are with me. Yeah? So here comes, let's try. Let's give this a try. I'm going to keep you on pause, but we'll get there in a second. So this is your test this morning. Transforming into a sustainable circular economy, we need to transform our economies and make them more circular. This work is already in progress, and there are different models already that exist in this sphere. The key aim of the, it builds on the key aim of the Paris Agreement, that there is lack of clarity about what is fully developed circular economy would look like. So there is a lot of academic research in this area, and that's something I've been thinking with some colleagues at the moment. How do we create a sustainable circular economy in the current climate? And what would that look like? Already there exist some models that we can use to build on, but I still think that there's room for improvement. And if you are thinking about research going forward, that may be a topic that you would be interested in. And if that is, I'll be willing to work with you when it comes to that particular research. So there are two main models. One is called models that include raw in 2017. And then you might have come across donut economics. There's also another model on donut economics. Then we look at the process of change. Obviously, change is never easy. They say there's the only thing that is ever present in our lives is change. Change is permanent, change is ongoing, but it can be costly and requires unity and political will, especially at global level. So it's important to bear those things in mind. And now, examples of circular economy. Now, when we talk about circular economy, I want you to think about certain things. There are certain images here that are in green, some that are in red, and some that are in blue. I'm not going to go through each and every one of these, but I will point out certain things that you need to bear in mind when you're looking at this particular model. There's a state here, the role of the state. There's a role of the state. Sustainable product policies. Talks about sustainable energy policies. Waste management policies. That's the role of the state to put those things in place and to put those policies in place. Then there's a role for the industry as well, which talks about organizational engagement, eco-innovation, market product processes, etc., technological capabilities, and industry symbiosis. And when it comes to citizens, the likes of yourself and I, we also have a role to play in holistic education, educating everyone about the need for sustainability, environmental awareness, consumption attitude of ourselves. I had a cup of tea this morning. I used it once. I kept it with myself, and I intend to use it again this afternoon until I leave. So, may I ask, where are your cups? Those of you that used cups before. Can you raise them? Let me see. Now, can I also see those ones who have thrown their cups away? Now, okay, so perhaps that's something we can learn and put into practice by the time we leave today's session, so we can all go home thinking we've done a little bit towards sustainability, etc. And then there's also certain principles. There's also roles and also goals. The goals are quite interesting, talking about social justice, social equity, societal development, environmental sustainability, and economic development. I don't think any one of us will disagree with that. Those are things that we will all aspire to. And so it's important that we play our little part in this initiative. Now, here comes the test. I promised you a test earlier. And these are just some of the barriers to transformation. Now, for those of you that are very keen on reading on this topic and perhaps doing research on it, these books will be a good starting point for you if sustainability is something that you are very keen on. These are some of the books that you should consult. I think you'll find them quite useful. It's making change. One of them is making sense of change management. And if you are thinking about publishing in this area, one of the journals you should consider is the Journal of Change Management. But there's also a Journal of Organizational Change Management. Okay. Now, the barriers include lack of clarity and vision when it comes to sustainability, and in particular, the circular economy. Skepticism. Here we go again. With my African and Gambian tongue, and struggling to pronounce certain words. So I'm just going to say feasibility of SDGs and carry on. And hope that you will remember. Opposition to the here we go, the position of them when it comes to certain quotas. So, how many of you remember the SDGs goals 3, 4, 5, and 6? You've taken pictures. Some of you have taken pictures. Some of you have taken pictures and an application. You don't remember? You remember 4? You remember 3, 4, 5, 6? Yeah. Tell us. Right? Right? But that's a good try. I'm impressed. I have to admit, every single time we talk about sustainable development goals, I have to look at this. So I admit that I get it wrong. So I'll have to learn how you do that and do it so quickly. Thank you. But also the scale and nature of change that we need to be aware of. And when we talk about change, we have to think about the volatility of change. How frequent is the change required? In the HE industry at the moment, we are going through change, and a difficult change for that matter. And so with my PVC for external engagement here, she can attest to having witnessed so many of those in the past. And so change is constant, and it can be quite volatile, and the industry that we are working in at the moment is quite volatile in that sense. There's also uncertainty. There's also change comes with uncertainty. People begin to think, what's going to happen to me? Will I keep my job? If I don't keep my job, where will the next job come from, etc. So it creates a bit of uncertainty. Complexity, in the sense that managers have to manage all of that. Change and change complexity, as well as ambiguity. But the impetus and part dependency is the one that guides us in these difficult times. And that's the legacy of unsustainable strategies and development, looking to all ways of doing things. So you would have had Donald Trump when he was campaigning to become president of the US. He said, there's no something like sustainability. You know, drill, baby, drill, he said. That we should keep drilling oil as supposed to be a lot more environmentally friendly by moving to much more environmentally friendly initiatives. It's still on promoting the idea of, fossil fuels and oil, which we know don't help when it comes to sustainability. The wrong type of leader and leadership. I've just mentioned one already, and I've not even started yet. I'm sure we can all think about the wrong leaders that we came across and how those people see our thinking and the way we conduct ourselves. So Donald Trump, in my view, is one of those people as we speak. But we need to think about lack of diversity among leaders. Lack of diversity among leaders. I was looking at the statistics of black professors in the UK, and it's quite frightening. Even though there are a lot of black academics in the industry, there are not many black professors. And so, for people like myself who happens to be a black professor, there's a lot of responsibility on us. I remember when I became a professor and I contacted one of my old mentors and told him the news. He said to me, good, but you now have a huge responsibility. I said, what does that mean? He said, it's no longer about you. It's that you are now representing the black race, but you're also representing the whole of the Gambia, where I come from originally. So you have a lot of expectation that you have to live up to now. You have to maintain, you have to support, but keep flying the flag. And so with that, it comes with huge responsibility, because everything I do now, I'm thinking, how is this going to be perceived? I'm no longer thinking about myself as an individual, but the impact of my decisions and what I do and the perception of that in the general public. So I'm very aware of what I do and what I say and what I get myself involved in, because I'm now seen as somebody that people look up to, etc. Then I will move on to single loop thinking, which is gaps in knowledge, silo thinking, etc. If you want to be an inclusive leader, you have to be inclusive. If you want to be a good leader, you have to be inclusive and not get yourself into silo thinking. That's why you have to have a good team around yourself. Lacking of key competencies. You have to have very good competencies, and certainly a framework for sustainable competencies will come handy to that. The EU have a paper on that. The European Union have what they call the Green Comp framework. That's again another important framework that we need to consult if we are thinking about going into sustainability and sustainability research. Shortages of transdisciplinary leaders in the industry, not only in academia but in many other sections. And what that means is having a knowledge of the different aspects of specializations. Not to be a specialist in each of those, but having an appreciation and knowledge of those areas. And I'll be talking about those in a second. But to do that, we need to appreciate that there is underutilization of most of the leaders, especially when it comes to team leadership, distributed leadership, and authentic leadership. So this is what I was talking about when I talked about transdisciplinary leaders. When it comes to transdisciplinary leaders, we need to think about leaders that are able to understand or have at least basic understanding of the natural sciences, the humanities, the social sciences, and applied sciences. But alongside those, have an understanding and appreciation of what civil society organizations operate, businesses, governments on various scales, as well as international organizations. And so disciplinary leaders found themselves in this sweet spot, which is not specializing in finance or in marketing, but having an appreciation or an understanding of the academic space, but also the practical space. Academia sometimes comes into different sessions. So in the past, academia used to be mostly focused on academic. And then there was a discussion, and then there was an argument that there's need to bring in industry expertise. So that's where we brought in the practice space. And so a transdisciplinary leader is one that is able to combine both the academic theory, the academic side of leadership, but also the practical side, i.e. the industry experience. And therefore their role, the role of transdisciplinary leaders in this sphere. They draw their expertise from an understanding of different specialisms, as I mentioned, and are capable of double loop learning, which is to think outside the box. They are able to think outside the box and question assumptions and see new ways of doing things. They are not just stuck in their own ways, they see new ways of doing things and are able to think outside of the box. And they are normally suited to crisis management and problem solving. These sort of leaders are very much adept when it comes to crisis management and problem solving. They also seem to understand the complexities of implementing sustainable initiatives. The challenges, of course, are potential for misunderstanding and conflict. Gains from diversity are not automatic, so we should not assume that the gains that we derive from diversity are automatic. They are not automatic, and it can take time for us to realize those aims. Now, my own personal journey. Don't look at the dog in the picture. I promised you earlier that I'm still young, and my wife told me that I'm still young. And the advice that I get is that you always listen to your wife. My late mother said to me, always listen to your wife. So I still remember that. So when it comes to my own personal journey, I have specialisms in banking and finance and corporate governance. Those of you who have looked at my profile this morning, you realize that I have a business management degree, a banking and finance master's degree, and a PhD in corporate governance. So, which explains my background. Since I became a professor of sustainable financial governance, I need to learn certain things and be a lot more aware, especially given the title of my my professoriate. So I did need to learn very quickly. It's a very steep learning curve. Challenging careers. I had a challenging career, as you can imagine. First arriving in the UK back in 2000 as an international student. It says the TV will turn off in 1 minute. It tells you everything about my time management. Here we go. We got there yet. Thank you so much. Since becoming a professor, obviously the responsibility and the role that I continue to play in my sort of sphere has become even more greater. And so this journey would not have been made possible by doing it alone. It is a group journey. So in this conference, we will all be traveling companions, setting a path to a more sustainable, resilient world in which we all play our part as leaders. And members of communities of practice, we are all communities of practice when it comes to academia. So I have had to extend my expertise to incorporate crisis management. At the moment, the university is going through change, and that requires crisis management, and so I have to learn a little bit more about crisis management, environmental science, critical finance, as well as corporate governance. So it comes to the conclusion. I would say future-proofing leadership is a worldwide aspiration. Future-proofing leadership is a worldwide aspiration. The key to this future-proofing leadership is diversity, characterized by teams and communities of transdisciplinary people employing a range of leadership skills and support. And on that note, having been told already that I have a minute, I yield the floor to the next presenter. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Faye. The speech was thoroughly engaging and thought-provoking and enjoyable. I also have tongue twister. I can't pronounce a few words, especially the one in your title, transdisciplinary. So that brings us to the next speaker. So before that, I would like to welcome Councillor Joe Hare, the Deputy Mayor of Redbridge. Thank you for coming. So the final keynote of the morning, and what a lineup has it been. So please join me in welcoming Ms. Abby Kapoor, founder and CEO of ARC Growth. Her work is executive coaching and inclusive leadership is unlocking potential across sectors. She has recently been appointed as the chair of Women in the Business Group of LCCI. Just quickly, her topic, her keynote is the power of the pivot, embracing change to find a path. And now you can clap. Please welcome Ms. Abby.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's been a wonderful, wonderful afternoon. Actually, I think I should say we're in the afternoon, and what a great group of people you are standing from here. You're fabulous. So I want to say a huge thank you to Bilal, Zaida, Sam, and the entire team at Mont College who put together a fabulous, fabulous event today. So I think you all want to clap. So this topic is about pivot and change, and it follows on to what Zaida said earlier in her talk. it's about change and how do we pivot and change. And I'm going to go through my extraordinary person's journey to share today, evidently saying, well, actually we do need to pivot and change, especially leadership. So let's get acquainted. Okay. So I'm a fellow of the Institute of Consulting and fellow of the Institute of Marketing, and also the chair of Women Business and Marketing Schools. And I've had over 30 years experience working across, worked in corporate at BT for 17 years until I got married and had started my family, and then I was almost forced to actually start my own company at that point. But having 30 years experience on marketing and working across different sectors has been phenomenal. Art management, just a little bit of context around that, is I set the company out of frustration. Frustration being that I found marketing teams within organisations work within and do the same role and the same role. As the world changes, as companies change, and the way that we market ourselves, especially out of COVID, it was all 99.9% digital, is doing the same role doesn't work anymore. So I found marketing teams quite institutionalised within organisations, and thought perhaps we could all form a company where we come in and almost be that department for you. So it's an outsourced services. So we've been running for the last 13 years, and we've had an extremely wonderful array of clients, all the way from Porsche, Cartier, Tiffany, all the luxury brands. We've got AMG, Barclays, Pro VIP, Mont, but also have worked with mid-tier companies as well, and some startups. So we've got a really good cross-section of experience. And when I started, it was obviously, I mentioned, gone ahead, frustrated out of the ceiling, wanted to leave with purpose, and having those opportunities don't come to you. You've got to create and have that seat at the table. The frustration was when I was working for a very large company in the corporate world, being female, being from the ethnic minority group. It was really, really difficult. And then having 3 pregnancies and 3 maternities. Every time I came back, it was reset, and you miss those opportunities. I think times have changed. I think we are breaking that glass ceiling we have in certain sectors. There's a lot more work to be done, but in those days it was completely, well, I'm just going to go do it myself and create that seat at the table myself. So that was the context behind the new beginnings. The 5 pillars, and it's important to actually have values and pillars around what I did at the beginning, was having a clarity of vision. From the offset, I knew the type of business I wanted to set up. Building strategic relationships, I think that's key. And I've got 2 people from my team, and they're testament. They will say absolutely building a network is really, really important, but not just a phone number and an address and an email address, but it's also those relationships will be really key in nurturing them. So building those strategic relationships, and opening those doors were really important before the profit. Resilience, yes, there were far more no's than yeses, and it was about how do we find another way to get those yeses, and I think resilience is very, very important in business. Purpose, it was about building integrity, building a legacy. It's about, the income comes later. It's about the purpose of what we're doing. So that was very important. And adaptability, that is really, really key. And to pivot and change. And I think, the recent times, post-COVID, during COVID, we were extremely busy. Actually, everybody wanted marketing at that point, and they wanted digital. So we weren't in that space. But I had to adapt with the team. I've made many, many mistakes, growing too fast and crashing down and starting again. So I think adaptability is really, really key. And it's one of the pillars that built our company. Purpose-led strategy, very important. One of the key things that I really advocate right now from the mistakes that I have, you know, I found myself working in the trenches, and those of you here today that run their own businesses, it's very easily done. It's about, you know, if you've got a strategy, your job is to delegate. So I think we had to set a really purposeful strategy and make sure it was robust. Being visible and networking, gone are the days where you say, well, I don't need to be on LinkedIn, and I don't need this, I don't want to talk about myself, and there's a way of approaching that. But actually, visibility is very, very important. You are your own brand, whether you're with an organisation and working for a company, or whether you're running your own business or individual, people come to you because, or to your business, or to your organisation because of the brand that you put out there yourself. Resilience, I've mentioned it again. Leadership as a woman was really, really important for me to kind of grasp early on. And there were lots of biases, you know, you know, coming from an ethnic group, also being female. There was a cultural barrier. So leadership as a woman was very, very important for me to kind of really understand, you know, finances. If I was to go and do my degree again, I'll be an accountant or a lawyer, because those two elements are really, really important in business. Understanding your numbers, but also as a female, you know, the skills gap is really, really key. And as an entrepreneur, that was very evident early on, pushing myself to get grasp of some of those elements, especially being a woman. So there were some lessons. One of the biggest lessons on which I touched on earlier was growing the team really, really fast and scaling up really fast. And literally I had to pare it back, restructure, and that probably was a very difficult lesson I had to learn, because you're talking about growth, but actually you need to pare back and put those elements, put those pillars in place, and then grow. So it's been a very interesting journey. Yeah. So what happened? And I'll give you a personal story. Just before COVID, we were rapidly growing. We were doubling up our team, and I recruited, and I'm always all about giving back to the next generation. And I think that's really important, giving the next generation those opportunities and experiences. So I had a team where we were all just graduating from university, and they were a very special team, and literally trying to work with that next generation, because I'm a lot older, and how do you manage that? And I really learned that barriers are very important in business. You're managing a team, understanding, and also delegating. But what happened was I literally had to, in 1 week, we were moving offices, literally had to fire the team and rehire another team the following week. That was the biggest thing that I'd ever had to do. The most difficult thing I had to do. But I had very good mentors and advisors that basically this is how you do it, because obviously you want to get into HR issues as well. So what I learned from that was absolutely, you know, make sure your business as a business person, step away. Your business is the business. Although a lot of entrepreneurs face challenges in terms of, well, it's my baby, it's a personal thing. So I've now had to learn very difficultly to step away from art and say, that's that, whatever happens, I don't have a personal with it. So that was when things changed, when I changed my mindset in terms of a business is there, and every business is for sale, regardless, every business is for sale. And I had that mindset that is only when things started to change and I grew as a leader. So how I rebuilt, I had to restructure the company and have different models in terms of how we hired and what, having specialists in the team is very, very important. So today we have a team of specialists that get on, and which allows me to attend events like this and share my journey because I don't work in the trenches. I've got a great team that actually do that while we're working on developing our long-term strategy. So I didn't want to go into the detail of what happened, but if everybody wants to know, I'm happy to have a side conversation. But that was the lessons learned, and that's how I helped rebuild the organisation. We mentioned earlier managing the bias, and obviously the confidence is very important. And as female leaders, and it's great to see many of you here today, leading with empathy and strength, and learning and having very good mentors around you is really, really important as a female. And understanding that finance element as a female, because the banks have caught up on it now at the moment where they are making relationships with, it's a high net worth, or always have relationships with the male, the husband, or the boyfriend, or the partner, or the father, or the brother of a business, or through the personal banking. So the females didn't really, as a woman, you don't really deal with all that stuff. But it's important to make sure that you understand numbers, and that's really important as a female leader. And making space for others, and I think that's really, really important. Giving others the opportunities to actually work with yourself, and offering mentorship to people that are starting that journey, and you bring that really good community spirit. So as a female leader, and being female, it's in our genetics to help. It's our genetics, we're the nurturing kind, and that really, we've got those skills of empathy to really harness when we are leading people. Well, actually, some of my teams say, I always say yes. Now I've started to say no to quite a few things, so it's important to understand that. Mastering self-perception. I stuck that photo up there because we could be a kitten, but actually in the mirror we're a lion or a tiger or wherever animals that you associate yourself with. But it's really important to have that self-perception, be aware of your self-perception. That gives you improved decision making, it gives you increased emotional intelligence. You can read as many books as you like, research. Emotional intelligence comes from experiences, you have it within you, and you can recognize your emotions as something that you can work on. And enhanced communication. Every leader has a different communication style, and actually when you look yourself in the mirror, and that's one of the lessons I've learned as well, is I thought everybody was like me. I thought, okay, you group a team, of course they've got it. Actually, my communication was, I missed the middle there. It's really important to make sure your style matches whoever you're talking to, whether it's a supplier, your team, your client, your organisation. So it just allows effective communication. I did touch on networking, and I've stuck this slide in just to share the importance of networking, because that's how I built my business. And networking is not only just to get a telephone number address, it's also really good for professional growth, whatever you're in industry or you're trying to get into other industries. It's great for business and career development. And there's various networking online, which I'm hopeless at. I went to an online networking event and I was hopeless at that, but I'm great face to face, as most of us are. And expanding, your career opportunities, gaining industries, building professional like today, I'm sure you all will be networking with each other and building those relationships. So networking is very, very key. Some of the things that top tips in terms of preparing, identifying your networking goals, researching the event, and researching the type of people that are attending, who are your guest speakers, creating a strong elevator pitch is really, really important, and the power of first impressions, is really key when you're networking. As you know, there's many, many platforms to network. Okay. Digital etiquette. We are in the world of online networking, and we can shy away behind a screen, behind a mobile phone, and also what does our social media say about us? And using, we are in a professional setting, so I'm going to use LinkedIn. Engaging professionally. I've seen so many selfie pictures with somebody on the beach on their LinkedIn. What does that say about yourself outside your work? But obviously using that platform appropriately. Building that online presence for content is showing and sharing your knowledge, your experience, your expertise, and your voice in terms of what you're saying is very important. And having that etiquette and professional social media interactions. If you are on TikTok and you're another person outside work, I would probably keep that account private, and because the first thing each one of you are going to do is Google each other. You're exchanging business cards or digital cards. You read, right, let's see what this person does, and suddenly their TikTok feed comes on the algorithms. So just be mindful of that. Overcoming networking challenges, dealing with networking anxiety and shyness, it's tough. I remember my very first networking event, actually it was the Asian Business Association at London Chambers, and I was the only female, and everybody was huddled up in all groups, and it was like, hi, how are you, nice to meet you, and then I was in Mont, and I could have just said, right, that's it, that's my first and last networking event, I'm not going to go. But I dealt with another approach and broke the ice and the elevator pitch, and handling rejection with non-responsiveness as well. And that comes down to different people's communication styles. Adapting to different networking scenarios is really key. As you say, practice makes perfect. So your elevator pitch is really, really important. Practicing, standing in front of the mirror, having that one-to-one role plays with your colleagues, very, very key. This is my favourite quote, one of my favourite quotes by Maya Angelou. I've learned that people forget what you said, people will forget what you did, most definitely, but people will never forget how you made them feel. So just having that self-perception and, saying, well, actually, kindness is very important. And when you're out in interaction, so this is one of my favourite quotes. There you are. Thank you so much. So if you want to get but I thank you so much. And you've got an array of events this afternoon, and I wish you an enjoyable rest of the afternoon. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Abby. That was truly insightful and empowering presentation. So you rightfully said, building network is the key, actually. So now we move on to panel discussions. So they are interactive panel discussions featuring all of today's brilliant keynote speakers. May I have the chairs, please? Moderated by our very own Dr. Samson Ojo. And this conversation will dive deeper into today's themes and exploring connections across disciplines. So may I please request our keynote speakers to come forward. And for the audience, feel free to jot down questions that you may want to ask them, because we are going to have lunch soon, so this session will end at 1 o'clock. So Dr. Sampson, please come forward. All keynote speakers, please come take a seat.
Hello everyone. I want you to have a great time so far. At first I'm super excited that I will have the opportunity to ask as many questions as possible. But we've spent a lot of time. So because of that, we will not be spending the time that we initially dedicated. So, but still, I will be selfish. I will still go ahead and ask each of the presenters or each of the keynotes one question, and then I will take questions from everyone, depending on the amount of time we have. So I'm going to start with Professor Sarah Williams. You've shed light on the invisible labor of women in PR. How can future leadership models ensure that visibility, recognition, and equity are embedded in how we value communication and relational work across sectors?
I think the most important thing to say first off is that this is not going to be an easy or a quick fix. I think it's got to be a two-pronged approach. There needs to be policy in this area, and there needs to be law that backs it up, and we do have the Equalities Act that's part of that, but there needs to be policy is the first thing. The second is about culture change. You know, we do have to, within organisations, encourage culture change. I'm trying to hold this as far away from hands and hands as any day. And then the third aspect is it comes back to something that both Sami and Tina referred to, and it's this aspect of empathy and listening to people's experience, valuing other people's experiences, understanding what those experiences are. Because unless the leaders of organisations, the current leaders of organisations, understand other people's lived experiences, they're never going to shift the culture and the policies won't change. So it's a three-pronged approach. We need policy, regulation and structure. We need culture change, but we need to understand that genuine understanding, not just lip service. I'm sure every company in the country has a policy that's written down and got some pretty statements, but they don't mean anything unless they're lived.
Thank you. So to you, does anyone have any question further? Either you want to ask further about the answers that Sarah has given, or if you have a totally different question. Yes.
Yeah, my name is Christian. I'm an editor at Mont. I have two questions, if I'm allowed. The first one to Madam Saida. I would like to know, among all the leadership challenges, which one do you think is the most difficult one? Okay. And yeah.
Leadership challenges with regard to agility and innovation, or overall?
Overall.
I think the overall is the most difficult part is to manage people, because we all are different. We all have got different personalities, different perspectives, how to work, how to see life, and to understand somebody's perspective, which is completely opposite to you, and bring both of us at a point where we can work together in harmony as a team. is the most challenging part.
Thank you. And the second one is to the whole panel. From all the speakers there, one thing just ran across, like women are not empowered enough or are misunderstood. But when you look at the panel, there's only one man. So how do you reconcile the thing and what has actually happened today?
So, who would like to take the question?
Actually, Montrose have done very well. And I've said this of led when it comes to women and inclusion. And when I talk about inclusion also, not only as presented before you today, but also the reasonable adjustments. You know, some of those things are considered to be minor, and it's very easy to ignore the basics when you are in the majority. But when somebody is in a minority, they notice these things, and it can be quite impactful, and impactful in a negative way. And so if you recall during my presentation, I started by saying that Montrose have passed the first test. That is to present or give me an opportunity to stand on a podium that wouldn't need me to stand on a stool. So again, I think looking at the organization of this conference and the panel before us today, I think it tells a story about Montrose, where they are going, and clearly they are thinking about the women in their strategy, and that is quite telling. Not only evidently in front of you, but also the facilities that we are presenting you today.
Thank you, Professor Sede. So the next question is coming from me, and that is to Dr. Sarah. Your work demonstrates cutting-edge innovation in stroke care. How can AI-driven solutions like yours contribute to building a more resilient and equitable healthcare systems in low and middle income countries, particularly in aligning with future-proofing leadership and sustainable development?
Well, there is the first part of the question is a bit technical. You said that the resilient solutions. So when we talk about AI, the base is the data, right? And when you have resilient solutions or robust solutions, the data needs to be diverse in nature, right? So it has the inclusion, it should be inclusive. So it should be collected with different populations, without having any bias, with all ethnic groups, with all genders, then different geographical locations, then from different, even, you have a patient scan with different machines, they have different set of like noises. So the diversity of data makes the AI resilient, right? So this was a bit technical, and the other part was
how can AI-driven solutions like yours contribute to building resilient and equitable healthcare systems in low and middle income countries, particularly in aligning with future-proofing leadership and sustainable?
Yes, this is a bit trickier, and the regulatory and the ethical norms are they are in the evolving situation in the lower middle income countries. So yes, by this is a great platform you have provided me, for example. So by advocacy, you can just do the awareness and see how we can incorporate the AI in the lower and middle income countries and breaking the barriers there, which are different requirements as compared to the developing world. So the more work of the policy making and in these areas is important to do that.
Thank you. Now to the audience. Okay.
Thank you. Professor David Baker. I'm a member of the Board of Governors at Montrose and Silena's mentor, though I think she mentors me more than the other way around at times. Fantastic set of speakers, what a wonderful assembly. And I do hope that the results will be published as we are planning to do for the conference last year. I've got loads of questions to ask, but I'll restrict myself to one. And that's something that perhaps hasn't come up very much, but I think concerns me a lot in my own research at the moment, and that's demographic trends. So, for example, if you look at primary schools in the UK, falling roads going through to secondary and so on and so forth. And then I was reading recently a book about the collapse of cities. Basically, people aren't having as many children. So I'd be interested in the speaker's take on future demographic trends as to how it will affect their particular area or view of how we proceed.
Would like to answer the question?
Thank you. That's a really important question. And my take in terms of looking at business trends and what the economy is moving, what we're finding is we are more working, the demographics of and the future trends are very community-based, and we will be entering what already is happening is community-focused targets, where you've got communities of women in business, you've got communities where you're forming lots of different parts. So, from my take in terms of approaching as a business or an organisation would be targeting and having community focus like we have today. And the demographics of that is happening globally. So people are choosing and making decisions on ethics, pillars, values, integrity, and forming roots. And this is the pattern that we're finding in business and future trends. So if you are marketing your product or marketing your services, we will have a more community-based future demographic. I hope that answers your question.
I would be adding a small note on this. Yes, it is very important. So, as far as my area is concerned, for example, the AI integration overall in healthcare maybe, not a single solution can cater the need for every even you move from one province to another province and the requirements might change. So it's not a single solution that can be plugged and play every time, and you can just keep selling on this. No, you have to, fine tune and twist your solution as per the local requirements. There are some areas, of course, that have the infrastructure and all that, and the remote areas you need to have like, maybe the internet not working, and so you need to twist the solutions, of course, even as far as no single product can, serve the whole country. You will have to see the demographics.
Thank you.
I think for my area, and this touches on Tina, so I won't take Tina into that, what she's going to say, is that when you've got a declining youth population, then you need to think about how you maximise your entire population. And I think what we've tended to do, policy-wise and as a society, is focus on youth, almost to the exclusion of everything else. And actually we're seeing it in the latest apprenticeship changes, which is slightly alarming, that they're really only going to fund young people to do apprenticeships. Well, what happens to the kin generation? What happens to the menopausal generation that might drop out of work without the relevant support? So we need to support people to stay in work for longer. That may mean retraining, it may mean refocusing. It's about confidence and giving people the confidence in their 40s, 50s and 60s to take on the challenge. We can't always be youth-centric and look to the youth for all of our answers.
Thank you. So let's move on because of our time. It's good to see Professor Baker. If you remember last time, Professor Baker joined us remotely and he couldn't come in person, so it's good to have him here today.
I had COVID last year.
Oh. Okay. Anyone in the audience? Okay.
This is for Professor Williams.
It's not on the It's not on the TV.
All right, so during your presentation, you did not mention anything about racial inequality. So is that an issue? Is there anything you've done? What is
Definitely an issue. Yeah, we didn't touch on it as much in the last book. That's coming in the next book because we've got a greater variety of global voices. So one of the drawbacks of that book really was that it wasn't sufficiently focused on the global south. So the second edition will address that. But absolutely, the intersection in particular of racial inequality and gender inequality, that's really stark in the communications industry. It's not just that women face barriers, but actually black women, Asian women face even bigger barriers to success in those industries. Things are changing, but really slowly. The Taylor Bennett Foundation is a foundation that's been working to encourage people from black and ethnic minority backgrounds into public relations for 25 years, and yet the representation within the industry is still really low. So there's a lot of work to be done, I think, in that area, and particularly in the intersection space.
Okay, we can take a question.
Hi everyone, my name is Nima. And on the issue of demographics, because I remember Tina talked about 40 and above. As a young lecturer myself, I get a lot of, I'll not say, it's not discrimination, but I tend to have issues with my students because I teach older people. So most of my students are older than me. And then I think there should be like, what's like the recommended, so my question is to Tina and Abby, because you talked about you employing younger generations and you had issues with that. So what's your recommendation for trying to be inclusive because the young shall grow? And we're currently young, but at the end of the day, I'm working in education. We would also, proceed into or hopefully proceed into leadership position. So what are the recommended or available support that you can provide to, younger generations in order to, build up to be the good leaders that we want and we can also be to people in general?
Hello, thank you. So I came into academia quite late. I was in the industry for nearly 30 years from the start, and so it was a bit of a challenge at first. I have to say that I've not experienced any negative responses from the students. I always adapt to fit in with the students as well as teaching them and educating them on the subject matter that we're going through. But advice, I think it's just about to be open, be collaborative. We're coming across many cross generations, and I was just advised a couple of days ago through a post that there was an 89-year-old just completed his Masters at one of our previous institutions, and it just goes to show that there's no barriers really to entry for educating. We all need to have lifelong learning. That is why we're in the field that we are in, because we want to continue developing. I think for me, it's about just being open, transparent, talk to the students, and sometimes you have to diversify and change the structure of the lessons just to get engagement. For example, a couple of weeks ago I was talking about research and practice, and students switched off instantly. I asked them to think about a topic that they were interested in, and some of the students did about fires in LA, some did about poverty, and then some of the students who weren't engaged at all, I said, think of your favourite programme. And they said anime. As soon as I said to them, okay, look into that topic, tell me about your character, what are the positives, negatives, what are their weaknesses, how can we develop them, those instant interaction. I think sometimes it's about listening to the students, what will get their attention, and how can you capitalise on that.
I completely agree with you. And I think that it's about listening. It's also understanding different personality types, the different personalities you have within that group, and understanding what are their values, what are the buttons. So it's getting to know your team and also getting to know your group. And communication is really, really important, because you may say something and somebody else has listened to it in another way and misunderstood. So it's about having that clear communication, but also understanding the different personality types and being very open with that, and building that relationship. And I think it will stop those barriers happening.
Thank you. The next question. Okay, let me let you start. Kindly introduce yourself.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm a lecturer in the Professional Department at Mont. Thank you very much for all of your speeches. They were lovely and very engaging. My question is, because I'm a female, and there's a lot of intersectionality, so it's to Professor Williams and Tina. I'm a female, I'm Asian, and menopause is something I'm in the age range of, okay? So as leaders, I would ask you, what would you tell male leaders, okay? How should they support us? Because remember, empathy comes with women already have. For men, it's so hard. So for men leaders, how do they be empathetic when they're leading? For women, it's very easy. I've seen leadership at different levels, different times, male, female. But for someone who is leading a female, if I'm Asian, I've got challenges. What is the likelihood of me leaving the job because of stress, burnout, demand? When I've got personal life, because of an Asian culture, there's a whole demand as well. Children, families, and extended families. So this is something which is a barrier. I mean, you already said you have barriers, but this is an additional barrier that we face in our tradition and culture. So what would you say to male leaders, and then how do they support people like you to stay in employment and to progress and develop myself for leadership in a high position? Thank you.
There isn't a one-size-fits-all on this, but I think that the key thing is listen. I would tell them to listen. Because a lot of the problem that you deal with in the workplace is it comes back to what Tim said earlier, stigma. Everyone wants to talk about it. Everyone's embarrassed to talk about it. And actually, women often don't want to talk about it. They're also embarrassed about talking about menopause and talking about the impacts it might be having on their lives, and they don't want that perceived as weakness. So I think the first thing is to listen. The second thing is to actually take notice of women in that age range in your business. Often we feel invisible, and like nobody's taking any notice of us. And if you're a person that's feeling invisible and isn't feeling like they're going to share their situation with somebody, you need someone to notice. You need someone to notice and sit down and say, I've noticed that you sometimes look a bit hot or uncomfortable. I've noticed that sometimes you need to leave a little bit earlier. You notice what's happening with the women in your organisation, and then take the time to think about how you might address it. Instead of dismissing it. I've worked for male managers who just dismissed it. Not my problem, and actually you're just no good at your job. You just lost it. And we've got to get male leaders who do better. Listen, observe, and act. To keep the integrity of the workforce, ultimately, because it doesn't do any business or any organisation any good to have all of that expertise walk out at that particular stage of life. We need the expertise, so we need to figure out how we can.
Thank you, it's a great question. And I said earlier, I gave you a personal journey of mine when I quit my job because of a male leader who was not supportive, not empathetic. It was a tick box exercise, a 2-minute conversation, in out. that was it. That wasn't for me. So I said earlier as well, I think it's really important that everybody has mandatory training in the menopause, even if it's for your peers, so you can understand your colleagues, because no 2 days are the same. You might be feeling on top of the world one day, next day you're rock bottom. There's no continuum at all. And so it's really important that you recognise that within your colleagues, with your staff. Even I can use statistics of the students, the average age of students now that are enrolling on business management courses. We as women are working longer, so this is only going to increase if we don't make a change now. So that's why we need to make sure that when we have those conversations, we are inclusive and we listen with compassion. It needs to be full of empathy. It doesn't need to just be yes, no.
Thank you, Tina. It's a long time.
Yes.
But can I secretly know can we go over my 5 minutes? Is that okay? Yes. So we have a male manager who also has something to ask. And it would be nice to hear from him.
Hi, I'm Dr. Irfan, Program Manager at Nutrition Care, Mont College. Female menopause is a physiological state, right? Even if we say a female colleague, you're suffering from menopause, it's normal. But according to NHS, when men, they are in their late 40s or early 50s, sometimes they also suffer from menopause, right? For example, they develop man boobs, they have erectile dysfunction, they have mental depression, they have low testosterone levels, and they suffer from anxiety and depression, right? So what do you suggest about male colleagues? Because they cannot disclose. Females sometimes they disclose and suffer from menopause, right? But men, they don't have that courage and that stuff, right? So what do you suggest that how male or female leaders, particularly female leaders, they support male colleagues? No.
Inclusivity. Know your team and recognise when everybody's suffering from different symptoms. They might be quiet one day, they might be angry, might be happy, but that's what it's about, knowing your team, having that conversation, whether it's male or female. My husband, I'm sure he's going through the male menopause. He's very irritable at the moment.
Sorry, can I just chip in?
You can.
There's this stigmatization that comes with it. Sometimes men are ashamed to talk about some of these things. So, in a situation where we're not able to talk about it, so what would be your recommendation? Because just like the Franklin said, women are quite vocal, they're open about it. Oftentimes. So what can we do?
Talk. Yeah, so
I'm going to turn the table around. I'm the only thing in the chair, so perhaps a bit of a turning down the table. My suggestion would be obviously talk. It's simple. I think sometimes people make it so difficult for themselves. But if you just talk to us, sometimes we come in quite moody, maybe because we had a bad night, or maybe we got kicked out of the house and slept in the dog house for misbehavior, among other things. But I would suggest that you start with talking to your male colleagues. If you see somebody coming on a day and they don't look their usual self, find 5 minutes or 10 minutes to talk to them. Find out what happened. Professor Williams alluded to the fact that we have to listen. So having spoken to them, listen to what they have to say. Show empathy. And don't leave it as that, act. Show them that you care. Show them that you understand and you want to understand what they are going through. If you want to be a good leader and a manager, you have to be able to talk, listen, and act. Don't just listen and forget about it. Act on it. Show them something. Sometimes just say, you know what, why don't you take a day off and work from home? Little gestures like that makes a huge difference.
As they both are from Mont, so I want to say something. That whether it is male or female menopause, or it is any other issue, different people have got different personalities, as I mentioned before. Sometimes we are comfortable in sharing certain things. Sometimes we do not want to share that. And it's not only about menopause, it could be anything else. So when people are not sharing, we cannot expect them to speak also, because that's against their personality. And especially in males, there's a male ego also. They do not want to share, because when they share, they feel that they make themselves inferior or a laughing stock, or people will think that they are not those that macho, strong kind of, especially in Asian men, I would say. By the way, I've got 2 boys, no girl. So in that context, I would say that whosoever the leader is, whether again it's a male or a female, you being a leader need to be extra observant that what is going on around you. Because when you are working with people day and night, and if you are a good observer, you understand their personality. You know when they smile, you know when they laugh, you know when they are deep thinking about something they are struggling with. So if you are a good leader, you need to be number one, a good observant. And then, yes, you can go and talk to the person, that is, if there is something wrong. But don't expect that they will say, yes, there is something wrong, please help me. Because in many cases they won't. But as a leader, just like I'm a mother, yeah? So I understand my kids. I know what they are going through with, and I do not need to go and ask them what is wrong with me, because I understand what is wrong with them. So as a leader, you are a parent. So you need to understand what your staff is going through. Just like as a teacher, you need to understand what the students are doing.
I just want to add, great ideas there. I'm thinking of pivoting my company to develop, AI chatbots that can actually talk to people about this. And, no, my company works on stroke. But it's a great idea if somebody can work on to have AI chatbots that can actually engage or talk confidential and actually have the
Thank you. It's 9 minutes past 1. I asked for 5 minutes, so I'm sorry for that. But let's bring this to a close now. If you have further questions, our keynote speakers will still be available. Feel free to engage them one-on-one. And those questions that you are shy to ask, please ask them. Your secret is safe with them. Thank you, everyone.
So, kindly please be seated. So, we will have lunch. After that, please come here. We'll guide you for poster presentation. And then the breakout sessions. Please do not go. Enjoy lunch, and then we'll see you shortly.
What? Oh, no. In an hour. No, please.
One more
Thank you.
My daughter should come now. Please come because everyone they have to spend. Yeah. Why not the don't have to please check with your teacher. We want to have a group picture with him. In front of the banner, is that okay? Yeah, sure. Take a picture for us? Yes, one if you don't mind. Where? Here? Ready? Oh my god, I love your yellows. Okay, ready? I would like
Yeah, you too. Yeah. Well compared, if that's the right word.
Oh, thank you.
Very well done. I love the way you link it to say a few words about the presentation. And you just sum it up, so well done. Not an easy job. Well done. You're doing really well.
Your presentation was the best. The best. I love it. Yeah.
ये मेरे ये सब ले सकता हूँ ना मैं
नॉर्मली 2 बजे फिनिश करने का किसी की कोई अपॉइंटमेंट है क्या वो मतलब कि आज की क्लास है वो और वो न्यू है
मेन्यू देखो उसमें लिखा है एक्ट समथिंग एक्ट क्रैश आगे लिखा है वी सो सॉरी या
मैं भी कंफर्म करके आती हूँ
आगे
सबके बैठ में पूछा लगता है कमाल है इनको बड़ी टेंशन मैं एक बार कॉलेज छोड़ दिया कितना मुश्किल लगता है
It's chicken, but it tastes like cardboard.
It's so black, it's turning you cardboard. I don't do cardboard. You pepperoni, chicken chicken viewers, spicy bacala.
It's a tasty tiki meal. Satisfy your palate with new pepperoni chicken tikka skewers.
Bye.
Playground. Was there a dancing somewhere? I can keep my cash on fire. Everybody up to the forwards to play. So I can focus on growing my business. This is what Studio, built to meet any brief. With recalls for complex structure, let AI map your setup and wireframes. Then dive into your favorite part, the design. With Studio, built for the way you create.
Yeah, so that I had a couple of questions about stuff. I was just saying stuff like that I don't get probably just was about the team that
everyone to leave the plates in the other hall and be seated.
Glad it was useful. Do you do?
Very soon we're going to go back to our program. We're going to start with poster presentations. So kindly put your plates back. Let's come back into the conference mode. Did you guys enjoy the food? Good. Me too. Me too. I'm sorry. That's it. I'm finished.
Yes, yes. Take care. There we go.
Give you a trophy, we'll take a picture and then go. Okay? Sorry for this.
You do the graduation ceremonies for
Yeah, I do
Mont those.
I do all the photos. Have you seen the big album?
I have indeed, yeah.
I make that.
Yeah, fantastic.
I take photos. They choose the photos. I design them.
Yeah.
And I send them to India.
Really? Yeah. No, that's all right. All right.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
lunchtime is finished, we are going to have poster presentation. Everyone back into this room, please. We'll let you know what's going to happen next. May I request everyone to go at the entrance where you registered for poster presentation. MRC staff and lecturers, could you please help the students direct them towards poster presentation? And students and our guests, staff, everyone, remember to scan the QR code because you will have to vote for the best poster. And the voting will close at 3 p.m. Can everyone make their way towards poster presentation? Volunteers and staff, could you please direct the students?
Let me take one breath. Because after that I'm going.
Poster presentation where you register.
David.
This is room number 1. You guys have 15 minutes to have a look at the posters and decide which poster you find most interesting and please vote for it. Scan the QR code and vote. The voting will close at 3 p.m. Please make your way towards the poster presentation. Have a nice look at it, ask questions, and come back in this room, scan the QR code, and vote for the best poster.
You gotta help. What are you doing?
Please come back into this hall by 2:15 and kindly vote. Choose the person that you like the best.
Blessing them. Blessing them. Blessing is gone. Yeah.
If you have voted, please come back to Hall 1, and after that we will have our breakout sessions.
Interestingly, what you need.
Sorry, ladies, can we have a look on the session?
May I please request everyone to come back into Hall 1? Could you please make sure you have scanned the QR code and voted? Can the staff please help bring all students in here? Can everyone please help bring students in here? Can everyone please come into Hall 1 and then we can give you information about breakout sessions? Can everyone please come back in this room? We are going to now move to our breakout sessions, which will take place in 2 rooms. The breakout sessions, may I have silence please? I know we're tired. The breakout sessions will be in 2 rooms, this one and the room next door where you had lunch. That is all prepared for the breakout session. So room 1, this room is co-chaired by Dr. Agnew and Dr. Sumita Shukla. And the other room is co-chaired by Professor Fred Gamar and Dr. Pumaka Yamage. I can tell you the topics, if I can read. So in room 1, the topics are, so by the presenter, there will be a few presenters. Dr. Deepshika will present the role of social media in transforming leadership for a Resilient Future. Dr. Martina Aguirre and Dr. Samson Ojo, Leading with Intelligence, Exploring AI-driven HR Strategies for Well-being, Retention and Productivity. By Ghulam Fatma, Ms. Ghulam Fatma, it will be Ethical Leadership and Workforce Well-being, a systematic review of strategy for enhancing job satisfaction in healthcare towards a resilient future. By Dr. Funke, it will be Balancing Automation and Human Interaction in Hospitality, the role of leadership in the age of AI. And by the chair, Dr. Ann Liam, she will do the closing discussion and session wrap-up. The room next door, where you had lunch. So the presenters over there will be Ms. Fatima and Ms. Aboda will present the topic, the role of innovative technologies in promoting circular economy practices in retail. Dr. Tariq Mahmood will present the use of artificial intelligence in higher education to personalize learning resources in business management education. Dr. Sunanda Dola will present Exploring the Role of Information Systems in Circular Economy, a review of sustainable agri-food supply chain management. Then Joseph, one of our students, he will present Evaluating the Role of Resilient Leadership in NHS Crisis Management, a study of fostering innovation and sustainable human-centered healthcare through technology integration. And Professor Fred, they will do closing discussion and session wrap-up. So now that you know the topics, you can choose which room you want to be in. So ideally half and half. You can move between the rooms if you want. Whichever session you feel interesting. All the topics have been placed outside the doors as well, so you can have a look. You can see what time they are going to be, who's presenting at what time. So please, you can go towards the respective rooms if you want now. And we will see you for award ceremony after the session.
But anyway, I will ask them. Okay, I'll ask them in class. I'll ask them. Why?
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our breakout session here in room number 1. I'm Dr. Smita Shukla, and I'm delighted to co-chair this session alongside Dr. Ann Mehdi. We are very pleasant that we are very pleased to present 4 excellent research papers this afternoon, covering leadership, artificial intelligence, workforce well-being, and hospitality innovation. Each presenter will have 20 minutes including, around 15 minutes for their talk and 5 minutes for question and answer. As co-chair, I'll provide a gentle reminder that there are 2 minutes left in the presentation time to help us stay on schedule and allow time for audience questions. Basically, I will avoid apologies in advance. Please do engage. We encourage your questions and comments during the question and answers after each presentation. And so let me introduce the very first presentation. The first presentation for the day is Balancing Automation and Human Interaction in Hospitality, the Role of Leadership in the Age of Artificial Intelligence. Dr. Funke, the floor is yours. Dr. Funke, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. meeting, so you should shout, good afternoon, good afternoon. It was a nice meeting. Oh, I love it so much. Can you get up? Okay, so this topic took me some time if I can put it together, but with the help and, for my colleagues, Alan, Swego, I'm a very good friend of Monica, I was able to put it together because of the science industry. And my thesis and my doctorate has to do with leadership, so I said, yeah, that's a good combination. And I realized, especially in hotels, you see the young ones, they're like this, and they're gone, and then they're going straight into the room. They're not even waiting for any receptionist. They don't want that. They want speed, accuracy, and they just want things done quickly. And the elderly ones, they want to interact. Hi, how are you? They like that. They need the emotional kind of interaction and all of that. So as a leader, you want to balance this out. You want to actually satisfy your customers in terms of the young ones and in terms of the elderly ones. Especially in the hospitality industry where you have cafes, you have hotels, and all of that. Okay, so here, these are people that are trying to put all those things together. We all know Dr. Swego, Halima, and that's me, and Dr. Sunika, and that's from Adam University. Introduction, overview of the presentation with our aim, our review, concept framework. Concept framework has to do with the variables like the independent and the dependent variable, whereby you have the independent, the dependent depending on the success of the independent. So you're kind of seeing how leadership, the way they lead actually, bring the success of the business. And so then we have our methodology and all of that. We're taking time. Introduction, the hospitality industry is a lot, very much so. We have so many things. We have the face recognition. We have so many that has to do with AI. There's hotels whereby you don't even have any human interaction. There's some hotels whereby the back days, like 10 years ago, you have a lot of front decks, there. But nowadays, maybe just 3 or 2, everything is, online and all of that. So it's really gone very increase in technology. And then we have automation must be carefully balanced with personal and human-centered service, whereby, as a leader, as a manager, or as a CEO of an organization in the hospitality industry, you want to balance the two. And then we have the hospitality sector faces the challenges of balancing this AI and human interaction at the same time. Okay, I'll move on quickly. Dr. Sunika will take over from here just for us to have different views.
I'm Dr. Mont. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Dr. Sunika. I'm from the University and here to present our results. So, what is the literature gap in this context? There's plenty of literature gap in this context, but among them, we will focus on the under-examined leadership and balancing technological efficiency with AI education. So, we have to develop a blended service where that we can impact the customer happy, emotions and everything, which is really important in the hospitality sector. Besides this, we have to implement the AI as well. How are we going to implement the AI? So, AI is going to help us to implement the service in a very effective way. So, AI is going to work with the backup of the hospitality sector. What does it mean? The backup of the hospitality means that how they going to ensure the customer satisfaction, how the leader going to schedule the staff's timing, how they going to manage that, what type of new technology they can implement for the better customer service. aim of this research is the studies broadly aimed at exploring how leadership in the UK hospitality industry shape the balance between AI-driven digital transformation and human interaction. So we have to, as a leader, the hospitality sector, they have to shape the strategy, how they're gonna mix them together to make it best customer satisfaction service in the hospitality. So, what is the objective of this research? There's a couple of objectives, but among them, the first one is examine how leadership influences AI integration strategies in 5-star hotel. There's a couple of different hospitality industry here, but for this research, we are working only for the 5-star hotels in UK. Determine how service quality and human interaction are maintained in the leadership. AI is outstanding of their work and everything, but the thing is that they have some limitation as well. With technology, you can make any kind of human interaction. So as a leader, in the hospitality sector, they have to find out how can they make it in an emotional attachment way to implement the AI in hospitality sector. Assess leaders' role in managing workforce transition, and the last one is the identify best practices for AI, aligning AI in the guest-centered services. Hospitality is always the guest-centered services, and as a guest-centered services, we have to make sure that the customer is satisfied about the services. Whatever it is AI or the leadership or the customer interaction, it doesn't matter. As a leader, it's your responsibility, it's our responsibility to make sure that our customers are satisfied. Review from existing literature. There's a couple of existing literature already been happened in this industry. The first one is the AI in hospitality. Artificial intelligence is reshaping guest service by automating tasks such as checking out concierge services and personalized recommendation. So it enhances the operational efficiency. Of course, the AI implement the operational efficiency, but there is a little bit of limitation as well because you can't give the human touch. Human-centered services, emotional intelligence, that is another limitation of the AI, empathy, and the interpersonal skills remain critical in hospitality, which is stated by 2025. Another is that leadership in AI context, effective leadership, the pace, ethical framework, and the inclusivity of AI deployment. So leadership, there's a couple of leadership skills, autocratic, democratic, transformational leadership skills. So that as a leader, is their job to specify what type of skills they're going to implement to make sure the customer satisfaction and the industry is more good. Technology and acceptance and organizational culture, challenges and concerns. So what is the big challenge? The concerns include depersonalization, data security, and job displacement, especially in mid-level higher coding industry. The thing is that as a human, we have some limitation as well. We can overcome through the implementation of AI. Whenever we implement AI in a hospitality sector, AI can give us the more data security. It can ensure us the customer review and the satisfaction of the customer. How can we do that? We can do the one to the implementation of the chatbot. Chatbot can give them the customer whatever they need. Chatbot can give them the acknowledgement. Yes, maybe you are not happy today. How can I make you happy? We acknowledge your sufferings and everything, but then the later we try all your business to give you customer satisfaction. So through the implementation of the chatbot, we can make sure that the customer is satisfied and we are giving them the better service. So conceptual framework, whatever the doctors are focusing earlier, the demographic features are this one, the gender, age, and this one. There is an independent variable and the dependent variable as well. These dependent variables are included if this one gives the wrong result. So the dependent variables are dependent on their accuracy. So next jump to the next slide. What is the methodology? The methodology of this research is the quantitative method currently used and the deductive approach. Data collection will be the structured questionnaire displayed by the Google and the Google Scholar. The population is the 5-star hotel. What I told you earlier, the sample size is going to be 153 responses from the 5-star hotel, and SPCS is used to analyze this data because it's already examined by the other researchers that they provide the best accuracy tool. So the literature review comes from the Google Scholar and the Scopus and so on. The data collection will be the descriptive, reliability of this one, and the we're gonna use the transformation leadership theory and the technology acceptance model. Why are we using this one? Because they are very good at innovation, ethical leadership, and the employment motivation. So the empirical outcomes, leadership impact, key AI tools is adopted, and the challenges. What is the key challenges? The depersonalization risk, job displacement fears, concerns about the data privacy. So the implication, the practically it's going to implement us to support the hotel managers, the leaders, and academically it's going to help us to contribute and make it broader in terms of the hospitality and the implementation of the AI. So this is the recommendation that we're going to invest in the leadership development programs, digital literacy, ethical AI deployment, and strategic change and management. So this is the references, and thank you so much for listening. Questions?
Okay, Dr. Fuka, you mentioned before about how the different types of customers, the young and the old, how the old want they want a more emotional, interactive connection. So how is AI going to do that?
So that's why I said, like 5 years ago, we have a lot of fun decks, like 10 when you go to the hotel. However, now it's shrink to like none or just 2 or 3. And so, because of the online kind of app and all of that. So that's why for the older ones, as a leader, as a manager of the organization, you don't want to eradicate the whole front desk. You want to leave at least maybe 2, 3 front desks to have that interaction with the elderly ones in case they don't. Even on phone, sometimes if you call, you'll be hearing, tell me in few words what you have. I don't like it, but however, if you leave it later on, then there'll be someone else will kind of pick it to talk. Yeah. So that balancing has to be there in order to satisfy, especially your target audience. If your target audience are young ones, old ones, and all of that, you need to balance that in order for you to have them.
Interact with technology and older generation like us need human touch. My personal observation is that many hotels also put machines over there for the cost. Yes. And if you go in 5-star hotels and good ones, you will always find people standing on the desk to greet them and to give them a personalized service. So I think actually it's the cost. That is the reason why people are cutting on developing these machines to check in by themselves.
That's what I heard you. That's only a bit of process and all that. What is the specific like budget hotel, things like that? So we all like the luxury hospitality also have these.
One thing I wanted to add, the research objectives are not to make the people of different we don't want that. AI is here not to take even the human being. AI is here to support the human being, how to accelerate their services, how to make it more, the professional way, how to, the develop this industry. So we need to plan it.
Human relation theory, whereby you value human being more than just to add one more point, I don't know. Just to add one more point, when it comes to like luxury hotels, their incorporation of artificial intelligence is more related, rather than services, that is human interaction, is more related to like their amenities and facilities in the room. So because they don't want to eliminate, because when it comes to luxury service, we want human interaction. I don't want AI to speak to me or computers when I'm paying this amount of money. So with luxury hotels, it's more, when it comes to front facing, that's why when you go to like luxury hotels, there's a lot of people at the reception because they want everyone to have a personalized touch. However, how are they incorporating artificial intelligence is through their amenities in the room. So you see that they have different offerings, they have automated rooms, smart technologies, sustainability and so on and so on. So at the end of the day, we're not trying to eradicate human. So that's why we're looking into balancing artificial intelligence and human interaction.
I would really love to take more conversations on a brilliant topic, but Funke and Dr. Selka has done a brilliant presentation, and no matter how much Transformers or Robocops movie are made, the human touch will always remain. And so we rest assured that it's going to happen in the anything.
Really interesting topics, and thank you very much. And also for the audience for the engagement and work.
Leading to our next presentation. The next presentation is Leading with Intelligence, Exploring Artificial Intelligence-Driven HR Strategies for Well-being, Retention, and Productivity, presented by Dr. Martina Agnew and our own Dr. Samson Potter. Please present. The floor is yours. Well-being monitoring, retention strategies, and financial resources or human resources, or just general integration of other factors within the said organization. There's also the technological and cultural and leadership support. So for AI to be integrated successfully into the organization, the leadership needs to be on board. So everybody plays an important part. It is important, again, we all play an important part. So we're doing our part here today by creating awareness. So that awareness, we have leaders here in this room who will take on one point or the other from everything that everybody has said here today. So, yeah. A little bit of rationale. I think I've touched on this already. We've mentioned the importance of AI and the role that AI plays in our organization. But despite the optimism and the strong role of awareness that is being created by different individuals, a lot of organizations still struggle with integrating AI into the system or even doing it meaningfully. A lot of organizations still do not understand how AI can be used in a smart way. We're not looking to replace human beings, like Dr. Funke said. That's not what we're trying to do at all. If that was the case, then I'll be out of the job, and the lots of us here would not have any job. So what we're trying to do is work smarter as a people. We're looking to work faster. The world is moving at a very fast pace, so we need to get in touch with everything that's happening and just integrate that in a smart way into our systems, and then to help us just get to where we're trying to get as an organization as well as people. I also mentioned, I touched already on the key role of leadership, and again, this is an area that needs more research. So if you can, as academics, it's just something of interest to you. This is an area that we need to create more awareness, because a lot of factors we still need to look into the different areas. And I'm doing my own part today. This research is still ongoing. So I will jump into I understand we tend to collect more data just to understand, to be able to generalize the input or the outcome of the overall study. So it is a bigger study that we're looking to do. And again, there's need for more evidence of current perception and practices. That is for the organizations that are already integrating artificial intelligence into their systems. And in terms of the end research question of the study, we're looking at how artificial intelligence strategies are deployed and received in organization, and what influence this have on well-being, retention, and productivity. And we're looking at this again in terms of leadership of the organization. And to achieve this, we're looking at 3 main objectives. And one of the objectives is to explore current artificial intelligence use and perceived value in human resource management. And we're also looking to examine impact on well-being, retention, and productivity. And then the last one, we're looking to investigate the role of leadership in AI integration. In terms of the methodological overview, this was a sequential mixed method study. But if you were to dive a little bit deeper into what that entailed, is explanatory sequential method that was used, which essentially means that we first use quantitative surveys to just gauge understanding of selected participants within HR. So majority of these were HR professionals. Then views on artificial intelligence and how does that play a role in human resource practices within the organization. And then the second, so based off of the outcome that we got from the first survey that we conducted, we then did follow-up interviews just for the people that were not sure on how AI is used within the organization, or for those that AI tool was not used within the organization. We further went up with interviews just to gauge a little bit more information on their perceptions and how they think this can help move forward. And in terms of sampling method, we used purposes sampling, recruitment. This was done by email, LinkedIn. Again, this was quite convenient. So again, we targeted a specific group of people. So it was very important for us to identify those people and then send those questions to them to the surveys and follow up the interviews. And again, like I mentioned earlier, data collection is still ongoing. As you can see throughout the presentations, and the sample size is quite small. Again, that is due to time constraint. So, and in terms of preliminary findings and participants profile, we surveyed and interviewed a total of 16 participants, and again, these were HR professionals, executives, and in terms of sizes, again, it varied from small to big, larger institution and sector, public, people from Hertfordshire, Cambridge degrees, and other people from international organizations that also took part in the survey itself. And in terms of the geographical coverage, we looked at UK was one of the places that we focused on, and there's some people also participated in this who are based in Nigeria, Canada, and also the International Development Bank, which currently is based in Cuba. So that was a very good coverage that we had in terms of the geographical location. And in terms of age distribution, you can see different ages that we have here, and 75.6% of those were females, and 29.4% of those were male. Again, HR is such a department within the organization, so a lot of things are managed by women or females. But again, this is from low level levels, so when we go to the higher chief director of HR, we find that a lot of those something. So in those senior areas, direct levels, a lot of it is underrepresented by women. In terms of current use of AI in human resource management, so from the data that we gathered,